Day Monday, Chapter 2. Their trip begins. "Yay!" shouted Tarzan in the car, fully loaded up with all of their suitcases and holiday gear. "We're actually going!" Before they'd set off, he had discreetly ensured himself a seat directly next to Hugo's sister, of course. "I hope we get to see some puffins," Melody sighed dreamily. "I've never seen one in real life before." Puffins were her favorite kind of seabird, small, harmless-looking creatures with unique, multicolored orange beaks and cute, sad-gazing eyes. Perhaps the way they looked expressed a little of how she often felt. Dad cruised swiftly up the motorway, leaving their hometown in Lamebridge, England behind. The loud rushing air blew excitedly in through the rolled-down windows. "I hope you all remembered to pack everything you need," he called over his shoulder to the kids squished together in the back seat. "A week can be a long time to be away from home if you've forgotten something." "I didn't forget my guitar, that's for sure," assured Hubert. It was a ukulele, not a guitar. Hugo and Tarzan had window seats, while Melody was stuck in the middle. Everyone, though, had stuff stored under their feet and piled awkwardly up behind their heads. Dad had done a masterful job of packing the car so full, leaving only just enough room for the kids to squeeze in. But he'd made sure there was a wee space through the luggage shoved up in the back, so that when he needed to use his rear-view mirror, he could still have a tiny bit of visibility through the back window. It was still kind of illegal, though. Tarzan tried to distract himself from his discomfort by playing his favorite car game. No, not the ABC game where you compete to find objects in alphabetical order. The rules of this cool game are to fix your eyes on one spot on the rushing ground just outside your window and pretend you're riding a skateboard or a motorbike or something. The object is to use your imagination to steer yourself up and over bumps and jumps along the moving terrain outside while avoiding any fatal collisions with unexpected approaching objects like signposts, telephone poles, or concrete walls, etc. And you're not allowed to look on ahead. That's cheating. Tarzan vroomed and zoomed in his head as trees and bushes blurred swiftly past their car. It was a fun game. It often ended in smoke and flames and mangled limbs. Always wear a helmet. "Only 7 more hours to go," called Dad from the front. Despite having to endure hard, pointy suitcases and awkward travel luggage digging mercilessly into various parts of their bodies, the kids did a marvelous job getting along with minimal arguing throughout most of the trip. Not once did Dad hear a "Stop touching me! Your bony elbow's touching me!" coming from the back seat. Eventually, tired of endless travel, they rested their heads on each other's shoulders and drifted off to the vibrations of the car humming along the road. Crunch! The kids awoke with a jolt. Squinting out the front windscreen, Melody noticed a large shape with blurry orange blobs and wondered if they'd finally arrived at the ferry terminal. "Are we there?" she asked groggily, putting her glasses back on and tenderly rubbing the back of her head. Sure enough, there stood the ship with its orange lifeboats way up high along its sides. "I'm sorry, kids," Dad apologized. "We've made it to Scotland, but I'm afraid I've just had a bit of a crash with the car. We're going to have to get out and carry our stuff the rest of the way. Is everyone okay?" Seemingly fine, everybody slowly piled out of the car and gathered around the rear to inspect the damage. What happened was, after having received parking instructions from the lady in the ticket booth, Dad had driven off to find his correct lane. Accidentally missing it, he'd attempted to reverse the car. unfortunately, due to the obvious lack of visibility through the rear window, had ended up backing into a concrete barrier, thus disrupting the snoring children's fitful snooze. Huey's hard ukulele case behind them had slipped out from the pile and knocked poor Melody on the back of her head. That may actually have been what had jolted her awake. "My head hurts," whispered Melody to herself. "Come on, kids," instructed Dad, kissing his daughter on the top of her head. "Grab your things and we'll head on to the ship. The damage to the bumper and rear wheel is too bad. I'll have to call someone to come and tow our car to a local garage for repairs. In the meantime, we'll be without wheels for the rest of the week. Hopefully it'll be ready for when we return." Groaning with disappointment, everyone grudgingly retrieved their belongings, Hubert particularly making sure his ukulele case wasn't hurt. Then, with backs and arms significantly heavy laden, they all struggled towards the public waiting area, complaining as they went. Except Melody. She never complains. Eventually, they made it onto the ship and sat with relief on relatively comfy-ish seats, surrounding a table secured to a manky carpeted floor. Dad left them to rest and went off to the cafeteria to reward them with some food. Hubert, of course, went straight for his musical instrument. "What should I play?" he asked. "How about that song you're really good at?" suggested Tarzan, a little too sarcastically. "Oh yeah, that's a good one," Hugo agreed, and started to plunk on the 4 nylon strings. Plunka, plunka, plunka. Other passengers nearby casually turned their heads, taking notice of the cheerful sound. Before too long, Dad arrived back triumphantly carrying a tray of greasy burgers, fizzy drinks, and fries for all. Normally, Dad liked to eat much more healthily, but this was all the cafeteria had to offer. So Hubert put away his uke and just dove in with the rest of them. Bing! The captain came on the intercom, announcing they would shortly be departing Stabardine, and encouraged his passengers to pay close attention to the following recorded safety announcements. Unfortunately, the gentleman who'd been hired for his professional-sounding voice had deemed it prudent to deliberately read out his script with an unnecessarily thick local accent, incorporating as much obscure vernacular as possible for the benefit of the tourists who in no way could understand what was being broadcast. Bong! "Ladies and gentlemen," the intercom crackled, "if in the unlikely event this vessel runs onto an underwater sea mine left over from World War II and we explode on fire, your life jackets are found under your seats, but good luck with that." "I think we're gonna die," declared Hubert miserably, finishing off his fast food burger with one hand and wiping yellow mustard from his round, chubby face with the other. The others were not far behind in swallowing down their far from nourishing meal when, with a shudder and a low rumble, the vessel began to leave the port. Looking out of the large viewing windows, monstrous waves could be seen rolling steadily over the ocean. As they left the safety and shelter of the harbor and joined the open waters, the ship began to rock. "If anyone needs to use the washroom, now's probably a good time," offered Dad, finishing his meal and turning to read his book he'd brought with him. Exchanging queasy glances, Hubert, Melody, and Tarzan rose from their seats, instantly searching for elusive balance. None of them felt very good. Attempting to clutch onto any passing table or chair that might prove handy, they made their way flailing down the corridor on a quest for the toilets. Every time the vessel rose up to greet a massive wave, their legs felt like heavy stumps pressing into the floor, like they were being forced to climb a steep mountain. Then, when the ship nosed downwards over the other side of that passing wave, their legs felt wobbly as jelly, and they left the ground flying and falling forwards, only to be met sternly by the rising floor once more. Unlucky Melody was stopped by a thin, corroded floor-to-ceiling pole, her forehead making contact. Clang! Ouch! Melody found the ladies first and went in to put some cool, damp paper towel on the front and back of her still throbbing head, while Hugo rushed into the men's just ahead of Tarzan. He searched frantically for those convenient white paper bags used for emergencies, but ran out of time and aimed for the sink. Blah! Almost a bullseye. Chunky unpleasantness spewed all over the mirror, over taps and faucet, and into the bowl of the sink. A passenger in the closed stall behind them coughed, flushed, and then came out to wash his hands. With a strange look on his face, he surveyed the mess, changed his mind, and quickly left the washroom. "You really need to chew your food," observed Tarzan with a critical eye, an undigested, soggy morsel slowly slipping down the mirror, leaving its snail trail behind.